Hey everyone, 99% of you watching aren't subscribed. Let's change that. Hit that subscribe button, and at 1,000 subscribers, we'll drop special stories just for you.
The docking alarms didn't sound. They never did for medical transports, especially not ones flagged as biological priority. Station Kepri 9 prided itself on calm efficiency, on the quiet hum of advanced care, where even the most volatile organisms were handled with clinical precision. But silence didn't mean safety. Dr. Virex knew that the moment the transport doors parted, a cold draft rolled into the receiving bay, carrying with it the sterile scent of containment foam and something else. Something organic, raw, unfamiliar. The pod hovered in, escorted by 2 armored drones. Its surface was scorched in places, as if it had survived atmospheric entry. Or something worse. Warning sigils flashed across its shell in multiple galactic scripts. Biohazard, unknown species, extreme caution. Virex's frill twitched uneasily. Open external scan, he ordered. A hollow display flickered to life beside him, cycling through spectral readings. The assistants leaned in until the classification code appeared. Then they recoiled. Is that correct? One of them whispered. Virex didn't answer immediately. His 4 eyes remained fixed on the data, parsing, rechecking, refusing to accept it. But it didn't change. Species, human. Origin, Sol, 3 Earth. Classification, apex omnivore, dominant biosphere entity. The room seemed to shrink. No, Virex said flatly. That's a mistake. The transport officer, still standing near the entry hatch, shook their head. It's been verified 3 times. Council confirmed. This is authentic. Virex turned slowly. You expect me to believe, he said, voice tightening, that a human has been brought onto my station? It was found alone, the officer replied, drifting in a damaged escape vessel. Life signs were failing. Then you should let them fail. Virex snapped, his composure cracking. Do you have any idea what you've done? Murmurs rippled through the staff. Even those who had never encountered a human knew the stories. World shapers, war makers, survivors of impossible conditions. A species that had not merely adapted to its environment, but dominated it completely. Why is it not restrained with stasis field? An assistant asked, voice trembling. It is, the officer said, triple-layered, neural dampening active. It hasn't moved since retrieval. As if summoned by the words, the pod gave a faint metallic click. Everyone froze. Virex's gaze snapped toward it. Status. Internal activity spike. One technician said quickly, scanning the readouts. Minor. Possibly reflexive. Possibly. Virex echoed sharply. The pod surface dimmed, its opaque shielding slowly becoming transparent. And for the first time they saw it. The human lay curled on its side, limbs drawn inward, smaller than expected. No armor, no visible weapons. Its skin, smooth, pale, marked with discoloration, was partially covered by torn fabric. One arm was bound in a crude wrap, soaked through with darkened blood. Its chest rose and fell unevenly. Weak, injured, alive. That's it? One assistant murmured. That's the apex predator? Virex didn't respond, because he was staring at its face. The human's features were slack with exhaustion, but even in that state, there was tension, subtle, coiled. Its brow twitched slightly. Its fingers flexed against the floor of the pod, as if gripping something unseen. Do not be deceived by appearance, Virex said quietly. Many predators disguise themselves as harmless. The hollow display updated again. Injury report preliminary. Fractured upper limb, severe lacerations, infection risk. Critical dehydration. Advanced. It's dying, the technician said. Virex hesitated. Protocol dictated intervention. Preservation of life, especially rare or unknown life, was central to their mission. But this wasn't unknown. This was documented, studied, feared. A single individual cannot be considered a threat to the station, the transport officer pressed. We have containment. We have safeguards. You have assumptions, Virex replied. This species thrives on unpredictability. Inside the pod, the human stirred. It was subtle at first, a shift of the shoulders, a tightening of muscles. Then its head tilted slightly. A breath caught somewhere in the room. Its eyes opened, sharp, focused, scanning. For a split second, its gaze passed over the assembled aliens, and in that instant, something ancient flickered behind those eyes. Assessment, awareness, survival. Virex stepped back instinctively, sealed the pod. He ordered immediately, increased dampening fields. The barrier intensified with a low hum. The human blinked slowly, its vision unfocused. Whatever awareness had surfaced began to fade again, dulled by exhaustion and the containment systems. Its eyes closed, its breathing hitched, and then it lay still once more. Silence returned, but it was no longer calm. It was heavy, uneasy. Virex exhaled slowly. "You see," he said, "even weakened, it observes, it calculates." "It's injured," the officer insisted. "It didn't attack." "Because it can't," Virex snapped. "Not yet." He turned away from the pod. "I will not treat this creature," he declared. "Not here. Not on this station." Gasps followed immediately. "Doctor." "Transfer to orbital quarantine," Virex continued. "Remote observation only. No direct contact. That is my final decision." He began to walk away. "Then it will die." The voice was unfamiliar. Calm. Human. Virex stopped. Slowly, the room turned toward the source. A figure stood near the rear entrance, tall, upright, wearing a simple white coat. No visible armor. No escort. No fear. Virex's eyes widened. Impossible. The newcomer stepped forward. Hands relaxed at their sides. "I'll take the case," he said. The station seemed to hold its breath. Virex's voice came out low, disbelieving. "Identify yourself." The stranger met his gaze without hesitation. "Dr. Elias Morgan," he said. A pause. Then, with the faintest hint of a smile, "I'm human." The word human didn't echo. It detonated. Security protocols triggered instantly. A sharp tone cut through the air as defense drones dropped from the ceiling in perfect synchronization, their emitters charging with a rising electric whine. Red targeting beams converged on the newcomer's chest, throat, head. Every vital point mapped in less than a second. Several staff members stumbled backward. One collapsed entirely, scrambling behind a console. "Containment breach," someone shouted. "There is no breach," Elias said calmly. That only made it worse. Virex's frill flared wide, his posture expanding instinctively to appear larger, more threatening, though even he knew how futile that would be against a species like this. "You brought another one aboard?" he demanded, voice tight with controlled panic. Elias didn't move under the aim of a dozen weapons. "No," he said. "I came on my own." That is not reassuring. A drone drifted closer, its emitter brightening. "State your intent," it demanded in a flat, synthetic tone. Elias glanced at it briefly, then back to Virex. "To treat a patient." The simplicity of the answer seemed to confuse the room more than anything else. Virex took a slow step forward, though he remained well outside striking distance. "You expect us to believe," he said, "that you are here as a doctor?" Elias nodded once. "That's usually what DR means, yeah." "This is not a place for humor." "Good," Elias replied. "I'm not joking." The drones tightened their formation. Virex hesitated. Everything he knew, everything Galactic Archive had ever recorded, told him that humans were dangerous beyond negotiation, strategic, adaptive, capable of deception layered within deception. And yet, this one stood still, unarmed, calm in the face of overwhelming threat. It didn't match the expected behavior. "Why are you not attempting escape?" Virex asked. Elias tilted his head slightly. "Why would I?" "You are surrounded." "Yeah," Elias said, "by people who are scared of me." A ripple of discomfort moved through the room. "That fear is justified," Virex snapped. "Sure," Elias said, "but it's not helping your patient." That word, patient, landed differently. It shifted the focus. Reluctantly, Virex's gaze flicked back to the containment pod. Inside, the injured human had begun to tremble again. Its breathing had become erratic, shallow, and fast. The monitors flickered with warning indicators. Stress response escalating. A technician reported. Heart rate increasing. Neural activity spiking. Virex's jaw tightened. It senses threat, he said. Elias followed his gaze. No, he said quietly. It senses you sensing threat. Virex turned sharply. Explain. Elias gestured subtly toward the drones, the weapons, the tense posture of every being in the room. You've created a hostile environment, he said. To it. This looks like a kill box. That creature's a threat. Right now. Elias countered. It's injured, dehydrated, and barely conscious. The human in the pod shifted again, curling tighter, one hand gripping its injured arm as if bracing against pain. It's not hunting, Elias continued. It's trying to survive. Virex's frill lowered slightly, uncertainty creeping in despite himself. You speak as if you understand it. I do understand it, Elias said. A pause. Because I am it. That statement hit harder than the first. Not like it. Not studied it. Am it. Virex studied him carefully now, not as a threat, but as a contradiction. Elias showed none of the aggression the archive described. No signs of dominance display. No attempt to assert control. Just focus. On the pod. On the injured human inside. You claim it is not dangerous. Virex said slowly. I'm saying it's not dangerous right now. That distinction is irrelevant. It's the only thing that matters, Elias replied. Silence stretched. The monitors chimed again, louder this time. Infection markers rising. The technician said urgently, We are losing stability. Virex's gaze flicked between the data and the pod. Protocol warred with instinct. Logic warred with fear. If we do nothing, Elias said, his voice cutting cleanly through the tension, it dies. No one argued with that. Virex inhaled slowly. And if we do something? He asked. Elias met his eyes. Then it has a chance. A long, heavy moment passed. Then Virex made a decision he would question for the rest of his life. Lower the outer barrier, he said. The room erupted. Doctor, no. That is an apex predator. This is a violation of... Silence. Virex snapped. The barrier controls flickered. Maintain weapon lock. He added quickly. Any sign of aggression. Terminate immediately. The drones adjusted, their emitters intensifying. Elias exhaled softly, almost relieved. Thanks, he said. This is not trust, Virex warned. This is containment with observation. Call it whatever helps you sleep. The barrier shimmered, then began to dissolve. A low hum faded into nothing. For the first time since arriving, the human in the pod was no longer separated by an active field. Elias stepped forward. Every weapon tracked him. Every eye followed. Virex felt something unfamiliar tighten in his chest. Not fear, not exactly. Anticipation. Because in the next few seconds, one of two things would happen. Either the galaxy's most feared species would prove exactly why it held that title, or everything they thought they knew about it would begin to unravel. Elias reached the edge of the pod. He paused briefly, studying the injured human. Then, slowly, he stepped inside. The moment Elias crossed into the pod, every system in the room screamed danger. Warning glyphs flared across the monitors. Threat probability calculations spiked erratically, unable to reconcile what they were witnessing. One apex predator willingly entering the reach of another. Vitals unstable, a technician called out. Both subjects. Maintain lock, Virex ordered, though his voice had lowered. Tight, focused. Do not fire unless I give a command. Inside the pod, the air felt different. Thicker, quieter. Elias could hear it clearly now. The uneven breathing, the faint rasp in the injured human's chest. He could smell infection, sweat, metal, and fear. The human shifted. Its eyes snapped open. This time, they locked directly onto him. Sharp, immediate, alive. The reaction was instantaneous. Its body tense, muscles tightening despite exhaustion. One hand pressed against the floor, the other instinctively guarding its injured arm. Its breathing accelerated, pupils dilating as it tried to process the presence in front of it. Alien environment, unknown figure, Threat. Outside the pod. Weapons charged to full readiness. Hostile awareness confirmed. A drone announced. No, Elias said calmly. Just awareness. He lowered himself slowly. Not looming, not advancing. He crouched, making himself smaller, less imposing, reducing the instinctive pressure that comes with proximity. Hey, he said softly. The human flinched. Its lips pulled back slightly, teeth showing. A ripple of alarm surged through the room. Threat display, one assistant shouted. Weapons primed. Stand down. Elias snapped, sharper this time. That's not aggression, it's stress. The human's eyes flicked rapidly across him. Face, hands, posture, searching for patterns. Signals. Intent. Elias didn't reach out yet. He waited. That was the part most species got wrong. Predators didn't just attack. They assessed. And right now, this one was trying to decide if it needed to fight. You're okay, Elias said, voice steady, low. I'm not here to hurt you. The words meant nothing linguistically. But tone? Tone carried. The human's breathing hitched again, but didn't escalate further. It hesitated. Outside, Virex leaned forward slightly, unable to look away. This is impossible, he murmured. Inside the pod, Elias shifted his weight just slightly, angling his body, not directly facing, not confrontational. His hands remained visible, open, non-threatening, predictable. I know it hurts, he continued quietly. Let me see. The human's gaze dropped, just briefly, to its injured arm. That moment was everything. Recognition of pain. Recognition of vulnerability. Not attack. Elias moved slowly, every motion deliberate. He reached toward the arm, but paused halfway, giving the human time to react. It tensed again. Eyes locked onto his hand. A long second passed. Then, it didn't pull away. A collective breath released outside the pod. Contact initiated. A technician whispered. Elias gently touched the crude bandaging. The human winced sharply, a strange sound escaping its throat. But it didn't lash out, didn't strike, didn't bite. It endured. Yeah, that's bad, Elias muttered. He carefully began unwrapping the makeshift dressing. The material stuck in places, dried against the wound. Infection had spread along the edges, angry, swollen tissue marked by discoloration. Virex recoiled slightly at the sight. Severe contamination, he said. It should be exhibiting aggression from pain alone. Elias didn't look up. Pain doesn't always mean violence. The human's breathing grew heavier as the bandage came free. Its free hand clenched into a fist, knuckles whitening, but still, it didn't resist. Good, Elias murmured. You're doing good. He reached to his side, retrieving a sterilization tool from his kit. The moment it activated, with a soft hiss and faint glow, the human's eyes widened again. New object, unknown function, potential threat. It's okay, Elias said quickly. This is going to help. He paused again, waited. The human watched him closely, chest rising and falling in uneven rhythm. Then slowly, it stilled, not fully relaxed, but choosing not to act. Elias moved in. He began cleaning the wound. The reaction was immediate. The human jerked, a sharp cry breaking from it. Raw, instinctive. Its body twisted slightly, trying to pull away from the pain. Weapons outside surged to maximum charge. Movement detected. Hold! Elias barked. It's reacting to pain. He kept one hand steady, not restraining, just present, anchoring the contact. Hey, I know, he said quickly. It burns. Just a second. The human's breathing spiked, then stuttered. Its eyes squeezed shut, but it didn't strike, didn't retaliate. It endured. Virex's frills slowly lowered. Why? He whispered. Why does it not attack? Elias spoke without looking up. Because it knows I'm helping. That cannot be certain. It doesn't need to be certain, Elias replied. Just certain enough. The cleaning finished. Elias began applying proper medical gel, sealing the damaged tissue and slowing the infection spread. The human's body gradually loosened. Tension eased. Its breathing began to slow. Elias rewrapped the arm, this time with clean, stable materials. "There we go," he said softly. When he finally leaned back, the change was undeniable. The human no longer looked like a coiled weapon. It looked exhausted. Its eyes open again, but the sharp edge had dulled. The frantic scanning had stopped. Now it simply looked at him, not with fear, not with aggression. Something else, something quieter. Elias met its gaze. "Yeah," he said gently. "That's better." The human blinked slowly. Then, in a small, almost imperceptible motion, it shifted closer. Not away, closer. A stunned silence fell over the room. "Proximity reduction voluntary," a technician whispered in disbelief. Virex stared. "That is trust." Elias gave a faint smile. "Or the beginning of it." The human's eyes fluttered again, heavier now. Its body sagged slightly, tension draining as exhaustion overtook adrenaline. Within moments, it slipped back into sleep, peaceful, stable, alive. Elias sat there for a second longer, just watching, making sure. Then he exhaled and rose to his feet. Outside the pod, no one spoke. No one moved, because everything they thought they understood about apex predators had just been proven incomplete. The silence that followed wasn't fear anymore. It was something far more unsettling. Reevaluation. No alarm sounded. No weapons fired. The drones still hovered, but their targeting beams had dimmed, uncertain, as if even their programming struggled to interpret what had just happened. Inside the pod, the human slept, not in the rigid stillness of sedation or restraint, but in the loose, vulnerable posture of genuine rest. Its breathing had evened out. The tremors were gone. The tension that once coiled through its body had dissolved into something quiet. Safe, Elias remained there a moment longer, watching, not as a scientist, not as an observer, as someone making sure a patient would keep breathing. Only when he was satisfied did he stand and step out of the pod. The invisible threshold seemed heavier now, not a barrier of energy, but of understanding. The moment he crossed it, the drones shifted again, uncertain whether to resume their previous hostility. "Stand down," Virex said quietly. The room froze. One of the assistants turned sharply. "Doctor, are you certain?" "Stand down," Virex repeated. This time there was no hesitation. The drones powered down, their emitters dimming to inert blue. One by one, they rose back toward the ceiling, returning to their docking positions. For the first time since the transport arrived, there were no weapons aimed at a human, or anything else. Elias pulled off his gloves, flexing his fingers slightly. "You might want to monitor hydration levels," he said casually, "and keep the environment warm. Humans burn a lot of energy healing." No one moved. They were all staring at him, or past him, at the pod, at the creature inside that had defied every expectation. Virex approached slowly, not with authority, with caution, with curiosity. He stopped just short of the pod's edge, his four eyes studying the sleeping human in silence. "It should not be like this," he said finally. Elias glanced at him. "Like what?" "Compliant," Virex said, non-aggressive. It was in pain, cornered, surrounded. Elias leaned lightly against a nearby console. "Yeah," he said, "and that is when predators strike." "Sometimes," Elias agreed. Virex turned toward him. "Then why did it not?" Elias considered the question for a moment. Then he gestured toward the pod. "Because it didn't need to." The answer lingered, unsatisfying at first, then not. Virex looked back again. The human shifted slightly in its sleep, its uninjured hand loosening from a half-clenched fist. Its face, once tight with strain, had softened. "You said it was not dangerous," Virex said. "I said it wasn't dangerous right now," Elias corrected. "That distinction continues to trouble me." "It should," Elias said. "It's an important one." Virex's frill twitched faintly. "Explain." Elias straightened a bit, folding his arms, not defensive, just thoughtful. "Danger isn't a constant state," he said. "It's a response." "To what?" "Context. Threat. Need." Virex absorbed that. "You are suggesting," he said slowly, "that its behavior is conditional." "Everything's behavior is conditional," Elias replied. Even yours. Virex stiffened slightly, but didn't argue because he remembered the moment the human's eyes had opened, the instinctive step backward, the immediate assumption of danger, his own reaction. We feared at first, Virex admitted. Elias nodded. Yeah. And that fear, Virex hesitated, searching for the right word. Provoked a response? Almost. Elias said, You didn't get the chance to respond. You just prepare for the worst. Virex looked at the drones, now dormant above. We were ready to destroy it. Exactly. Elias tilted his head toward the pod, and it still chose not to fight. That settled heavily over the room. An assistant spoke up, voice quiet but shaken. But the archive, all records indicate humans are highly aggressive. Elias gave a small shrug. We can be. That is not reassuring. It's not supposed to be, Elias said. It's honest. Virex turned fully toward him now. Then answer this, he said. What is a human? The question carried weight. Not scientific, not clinical, philosophical. Elias didn't answer immediately. He looked at the sleeping figure again, at the bandaged arm, at the slow, steady breathing, then back at Virex. A human is adaptable, he said, capable of a lot of things, good and bad. That is true of many species. Yeah, Elias agreed, but humans take it further. How? We survive where we shouldn't, Elias said. We push boundaries. We fight when we have to. And when you do not have to? Elias's gaze softened slightly. Then we don't. The simplicity of it unsettled Virex more than any display of aggression could have. He looked back at the human, at the so-called apex predator. And for the first time, he didn't see a threat. He saw variables, possibility. We misclassified it. Virex said quietly. Elias raised an eyebrow. Did you? You labeled it a constant danger, Virex continued. A creature defined by dominance and violence. Elias leaned back slightly. That's part of it. But not all, Virex finished. No, Elias said. Not even close. The station lights dimmed slightly as the cycle shifted into its lower phase. A softer glow filled the room, casting long shadows across the floor. The tension was gone. In its place was something unfamiliar, understanding in progress. Will it recover? Virex asked. Elias nodded. Yeah, it'll be weak for a bit, but humans are stubborn. It'll bounce back. And when it does? Elias smiled faintly. It'll wake up confused, probably cautious, maybe scared again. Virex's frill lifted slightly. And then Elias glanced at him. That depends on what it sees when it wakes up. Virex followed his gaze to the room, the staff, the absence of weapons. To himself, a long pause. Then, slowly, Virex reached out a single hand toward the pod surface, not touching, just hovering there. A gesture of consideration, of restraint. Perhaps, he said, we should ensure it sees something different. Elias's smile widened just a fraction. Yeah, he said, that would help. Inside the pod, the human stirred slightly, just enough to shift its position, settling more comfortably, unaware of the conversation, unaware that, in a single encounter, it had begun to change how an entire station, and perhaps someday an entire galaxy, understood its kind. Virex exhaled slowly. We believe we were advanced, he said. Elias tilted his head. You are. Then why did we fail to understand something so fundamental? Elias thought about that, then answered simply, because you only study what we do when we're at our worst. The room fell quiet again, but this time it wasn't heavy. It was open, and inside the pod, the apex predator of Earth slept, not as a monster, not as a weapon, but as what it had been all along, a living being, hurt, healing, and no longer alone.